What's up, everybody? I'm Indy, and that guy right over there, that's Mr. J. And this
Morning.
is Indie Game Business. We have Justin French with us today. And Justin is, you're from Dream Harvest, right?
That's correct. Yeah. Dream Harvest in the UK.
Dream Harvest in the UK. Is there a Dream Harvest in the anywhere else, or?
There is actually. There's a horticulture company based in the States called Dream Harvest as well.
I bet they grow cannabis, right?
Oh well, no, they grow cabbage, pretty much.
Who dreams about cabbage? I mean,
Who knows?
People that sell cabbage.
Yeah,
they're like, I go tonight. What kind of cabbage can I make? Oh my gosh, look at these little cabbages. No, those are Brussels sprouts. It's fine.
Yes.
Hey, thank you for the 100 biddies, Tarlicus. What's up, Roland? Okay, so we have Justin here. And what are we talking about today, Mr. J?
So we're going to be talking about turning your community into an extension of your team, also known as indentured servitude and or slavery. I mean, that's not what it is. So Justin had a wonderful post on Kama Sutra that I saw recently, and I was like, this is awesome. Do you want to come talk about it on the show? And he said yes, and so here we are. So Justin, tell us a little bit about how you actually got into the industry and walk us through your career up to where we are now.
Sure. So I've had a kind of a bit of a interesting path into the industry. So I previously used to work in the music industry as a recording and mix engineer.
Hence all the equipment right to your right there.
Yeah. Yes. While I was doing that, I was also advising musicians on the business behind the music industry. There's a lot of very, very talented musicians out there with no business acumen whatsoever, and they never make it because they don't realize that business is just as important as talent and creativity.
That sounds familiar.
Yes. Whereas there are a lot of untalented musicians that have got great business acumen and then end up making millions. So I ended up working in the music industry for a while, and then I ended up getting a job at a company called Side. They produce dialogue for the games industry. While I was working with them, I worked on a very large number of very, very, very big projects like Star Wars: The Old Republic, Fable 2, Warhammer Space Marine.
Just some little things.
Yeah. So I was with them for a few years, and then I moved to their main competitor OM UK, which I had the chance to then work on things like Broken Sword 5, RuneScape, all sorts of stuff, like crazy number of projects. I also at the time I was also a freelance teacher, so I was teaching game design and development at a local college, where I changed the curriculum to teach Unity and game development. Because the curriculum was awful, and they wanted to try and teach these students Visual Basic and app development, which I thought was not really relevant to today's industry. And I also worked in recruitment as well as a games and tech recruiter. So I've done all sorts of different things. While I was doing all of that, I was also doing freelance work for a lot of indie studios, doing sound design, composing, project management, and consultancy. I got sick and tired of kind of working with bad managers and working on crappy mobile games, and decided I want to start my own studio to work on bigger games, try and push what's possible really for kind of developing bigger games with smaller teams. And that's kind of where we are now with Dream Harvest. We've been developing Neuroslicers, our current project, for about 4 years. It's been a journey, to say the least. But yeah, really exciting time at the moment, and just now really looking to help other developers really with things like community management. So I've had to throw myself into these types of things, and I'm all self-taught as well. But yeah, that's kind of where I am at the moment.
All right, so you've been working on Neuroslicer for 4 years now. So where is it in the process? Are you close to launch, or where are you? Where is the project right now?
So we did a pre-alpha back in April last year, which was awesome. Great feedback. Great, reception was awesome. We're now working towards our alpha, which we're hoping to get out by the end of this year. And then full launch will probably be towards the end of next year, beginning of 2021. It's a very big game being developed by a very small team. We're combining solo PvP and co-op gameplay into a unified campaign experience. We're really trying to push the RTS genre in a new direction, both gameplay-wise, narratively, mechanically, and system-wise. Because for us, the RTS market really, at least in our own opinion, hasn't really changed. The games that have come out are all a homage to the games of the past, rather than trying to do something new with it. So we're taking our time and making doing lots of iteration and really working with our community very, very closely to make sure that what we're making is going to be something that people want to play.
It's triple I. Somebody just said AAA quality on an indie budget, and I saw that.
Yeah.
Somebody called that. I'm not taking credit for that. I totally stole that from something I saw the other day. I'm like, that is an awesome term for it. It's triple I.
Yeah.
Which,
Triple I.
when you start writing it, it looks like you wrote 3. So it's like, maybe that works. Maybe that doesn't work. So before, that's a long time. So, and now it's opened up a whole load of questions that I didn't even plan on going into, but funding a project as an indie studio for 4 years, and you've got another possible 2 to go. Who's paying for this?
So for the first 2 and a bit years, we were self-funded. And only working part-time. So the amount of work we've actually done hasn't been 4 years worth of work. So for the first two and a bit years, we were all part-time. We all had other jobs. And we were funding things like paying for freelance artists and all of us were unpaid. We then successfully managed to a investor back in 2016 that allowed us to bring on our art director. So we were then a team of 4. We then secured additional investment from Korean investors at the end of 2017. We've closed 3 rounds with them since then. And we've just secured a very, very large round of investment from a British investor. And we're about to close another very, very large round of investment from an unnamed investor.
So no publishers, all investors right now.
All investors right now, yeah.
So we should have you back on the show again and talk about that process, because that's that's impressive. It's not easy to go and do that as a small studio.
That's an art form in itself.
It is.
It's been a learning curve. To be honest, I'm an audio guy. I've had to learn the business side of things. I've had to learn the community and marketing side of things. I've pitched to a ridiculous number of publishers and investors. And each time you do it, you refine the process. You find out what people want and what people expect. And we're creating a very, very, very ambitious project with a very small but very, very talented team. And that's always at the forefront of the way that I pitch in order to secure money.
So are you looking to do early access or anything?
No, I think early access for a game of our type is probably not a good idea. We are a predominantly online competitive game, even though we have solo and co-op. We're also a live service game, so we want to launch with as much content as possible in order to kind of keep player retention as high as possible. And then continue to add content as time goes on. I think if we were to do early access, we would risk potentially not having enough content to keep people interested for long enough. And also our content plan would have to be, our content release plan would have to be much faster than it would have to be if we did a full release. Because people would expect new content on a very, very regular basis.
Yeah,
which would kill our team completely. So as I said, we want to take our time with it. We want to get everything right. But the way we're doing it, instead of doing early access, we're going to do a number of alpha and beta rounds over the next year or so. So there's always going to be chances for players to test the game and try it out and give us feedback.
So if they go to your Discord server, I'm assuming those folks are going to be the first ones to get to test it?
Yeah, so everyone on the Discord server will get access to the closed alpha at the end of this year. It's the only way to get access to the closed alpha. Is to be on the Discord. So yeah, it's discord.neuroslicers.game is probably the best way to get on there.
Awesome. All right, so let's dive into what we're actually here to talk about. God forbid we actually stay on topic here. So the whole gist of the article is about building your community pre-launch and being able to leverage that community in a variety of ways. So just very simply starting out, why should you be building this community, especially for a studio like yours that, you're like 2 years from launch? Why should teams be looking to build that development community? I mean, build that consumer community that far out?
There are a number of reasons. One of the major ones is obviously the market itself has become incredibly flooded with so many games. I mean, obviously the route to market has become much easier due to the low cost of game engines. I mean, anyone can release a game on Steam now. One of the key ways in order to kind of mitigate the risk at launch is to make sure that you have a large group of people ready to buy the game as soon as it launches. There are obviously a number of good reasons for that as well, because, I mean, yes, first of all, it means you're making money on day one, but also it affects the algorithms, things like Steam and other shop fronts that obviously sell a number of products. The more sales you get on day one, the more wish lists you get, all helps to keep you within the kind of like, the new releases list. But also, one thing that's really important is if you create a game completely blind and without getting that feedback throughout the development process, there's a high chance that what you're building is really only being built for you and your team, which, as a commercial entity, as a company, that is pretty much commercial suicide. I mean, we're making games, yes, for ourselves because we love making games, but we're really making games for the players out there, the people that are actually going to be enjoying it, talking about it. And so why not get them involved in that design process from a really early stage? I mean, you don't need to listen to everything that they say, but at least taking on board their thoughts and their feedback will help you make better products. That's my personal opinion, at least.
No, I mean, it's good. The reason I ask is because you don't typically see, well, one, you don't typically see indie games in development for 6 years. But the other side of it is a lot of these companies, the ones that come to us, the ones that we talk to, so many of them are sitting there going, okay, well, we're launching in 3 weeks, and then we should, start planning for some marketing. And we've had a nice group of community managers and marketing folks coming on the show and saying, this is not how you do it. And so this is, to me, it's almost like a deeper dive, because, you are that much further out. But yeah, you're all your reasoning is dead on. I mean, you need this feedback, you need to have this engagement, and all of that stuff ready. But yeah, so I mean that's essentially it. All right, so you talked about all of the variety of reasons that games fail, and I want to run through this real quick because you do hit a good number of them. But no one knows about the game because there was no marketing at all. You're launching at the wrong time, so everybody's preoccupied with something else, also called the do not launch your indie game in Q4 rule. The game doesn't look or feel polished enough. No one wants to play it because it just doesn't resonate due to the the visuals, the mechanics, that sort of stuff. Your pricing strategy was wrong. You're riddled with technical issues, and you overpromised, and then that lack of engagement with the community leads to a lot of negative criticism and lack of trust, basically. So when we're looking at all of that, so what are some specific ways that you've seen these situations get resolved by having that access to the community early on?
So to be completely honest with you, I've seen more studios do these things and actually not know what to do next than I have seen studios actually effectively building pre-launch communities. There have been a few that have done pretty well. I mean, is it called Downhill? No, not Downhill. One of the games published by, I think, either Fury or I'm just going through my list at the moment of Discords. Descenders, I think, was done really, really well. So they did a really big pre-launch community. The game was a bit buggy on launch, but because they initially bought that community, they were very open with them. They gave them access to stuff quite early on. The feedback wasn't negative, and they worked with the community to improve things. But it's very, very rare. I mean, I've seen so many examples over the last year of really, really awesome games, or games that had the potential to be really, really awesome, that didn't bother to build that community before launch. And when I questioned them about it, when I said, oh, so what are you guys doing on the community side of things? They're like, oh no, we're concentrating on just building the game at the moment. And that just makes me cringe. I'm just like, are you guys insane? It's because it's so essential. I mean, like, people don't have to do it as early as we've. I mean, I think we are very, very rare. I mean, we started building our community before we even had a playable build available. The game was super, super early, but people should be building communities at least 12 months. I mean, at the very latest, at least 6 months. I mean, even 6 months is a bit too late. Community is part of the long-term marketing plan in many ways. But it's so much more than that.
How do you start developing a community a year or two out when you don't have a game to develop the community around yet?
Cool artwork, concept arts. You just share things everywhere, and start generating discussions. I mean, it's all about positive discussions around cool stuff that you can share. I think we started sharing just. So we started posting videos on YouTube and then sharing those on Twitter, and then people started following us, and then we just kept on doing that, and it creates a cycle of kind of feedback, and people are commenting, and then you've just got to keep commenting back. And then when we eventually launched our Discord, we very quickly started to grow that because we'd already built up a repertoire with people across other social media. Events as well, going to events. I mean, the moment you do have a playable build, go to some of the smaller, like super tiny events, and get people to sign up to newsletters, get people to sign up to your Discord or whatever. It's. I think what's really important is to have genuine conversations with people, and not just come across as I'm the developer of this game.
So basically, ask people what they want to see in the game, even if you have no intention of giving it to them, right?
No. I mean, I think
that's called marketing, Andy.
Marketing 101, right?
Yeah, but
I'm totally just joking. I mean, I just have to pipe in every once in a while with some.
There's a way to go about doing it. I mean, like, so for us, like, our community is very much like an extension of our not just our team, but like of our family, almost. We are so open with them. We tell them about everything. We tell them about our monetization strategy, the fact that we're going to have in-app purchases in the game, and I explain to them why we're going to have that. And it's all about honesty, and the reason we're doing it is because we want to continue to be able to develop content, and we want to continue to be able to hire people. We want to grow the team. We want to be able to develop more products down the line.
And who better to have than somebody that is passionate about your project? Right?
Yeah.
Who better to have? Exactly. Well, so we got another question, not to get you totally sidetracked, but Nightwolf says, how early to reach out for community would be best? At idea phase, modeling, crash demo, only made game parts be what is seen in the demo, or enough playable game to show a full demo? What's your opinion on that?
I think you should be getting feedback the moment you have concept art, to be honest. Like the moment you have something that you can show, whether it's something playable or whether it's just concept art or a white boxed mechanic prototype, share it with people, whether it's close friends and family or people within your own local game dev community. You want to be getting that feedback as early as possible. Never keep things too close to your heart. Always aim to get feedback.
And the most hardcore fans are the ones that are like, I remember when this was just a box, Yeah,
exactly.
I've been around that long.
It's funny because we still have the original prototype video on our YouTube for Neuroslicers, and it was in 2D. It was vector art, and the only mechanic was you could place and remove blocks to change the pathfinding of the units. And we still have that on our YouTube channel for people to see. And it's really fun actually to be able to see the whole process and the development from like the super early prototype to where we are now. And what's awesome as well is that when you do come to launch, you can do like a whole kind of you can put together like a whole development book as a product, that shows how the game evolved over X number of years that you were developing it. Merchandising is another that's another topic in itself that I could talk hours about, but yeah, I think it's really, really important to show that process and get people to. Oh, my cat just joined me.
That's how some of my music gets made. Cat walking across the keyboard. Plum, plum, plum.
My opinion is as early as possible. A lot of people are really afraid that steal your idea. Don't be.
You can't. Those are the developers. We'll go to a show and they're like, okay, well, before we talk about this, you need to sign an NDA. And I'm like,
yeah.
No, your idea is not that good. I don't even know what it is, but it's not that good. And if it is, you still have to execute on it. That's where,
exactly.
Everything gets separated. It's not like, God, if I had a dime for every time somebody goes like, I got a great idea for a game. Like, yeah, well, so do I. And so does everyone else who's in this industry, like literally everyone else in this industry.
Yeah.
So, you talk about building a community hub, which, I hadn't thought of it in that way, but I mean, that's a brilliant starting point. So what needs to be in that hub? And and the other question I had for you before that is, when you're doing this initial outreach super early, what social media platforms did you have the most success with? Let's do that one first.
Yeah, sure. So probably Twitter. It was the first time I'd ever used it, to be honest, was when I started the studio. But yeah, Twitter was really good for just sharing things. And getting initial likes and people following us, and but we built the initial community, I think, via going to some really small shows and just sharing the game and then getting people to sign up to our newsletter. So I think that was the first initial way we built the community, was through the newsletter. But yeah, I mean, Twitter's great. Facebook, I don't like so much because the algorithms are all over the place at the moment. I.e., if you post something on your Facebook page, the algorithm will only share it with a small percentage of your followers, and based on the amount of engagement, it will then share it to a wider variety of your followers. Instagram is awesome. If people aren't on Instagram, they should be. We see really high engagement there. The issue with Instagram is normal posts, links don't work on them. You have to do paid posts for that. But we've actually seen the best click-through rates, pay per click on Instagram if you are going to do paid advertisement on there. YouTube is all right. I wouldn't advertise on YouTube though, because it's very high cost. Same with Twitter, actually, is really, really high cost per click. What else? IndieDB is pretty awesome for posting blog posts. So yeah, I think those are kind of the main ones. I'm pretty sure I have a list, but
So on Instagram, are you sharing just mainly concept art and GIFs?
No, so we show we do a lot of photos with the team and the studio, and when the team do get-togethers, when we have board gaming nights. We share the inner workings of the studio through Instagram, as well as concept art stuff. But we see our highest engagement with the studio stuff rather than game stuff.
Really?
Yeah, people like to see that. They like to see what's going on. So that's your new Instagram stuff, Jay. You got to take pictures of you and your dog in your studio. Yeah.
Well, my mother-in-law is in town, and she brought her dog. So my dog has completely abandoned me because she has to go protect everything that she owns from the other dog now. So that's the reason she's not in here snoring with me right now. She's afraid that Buddy might accidentally get one of her treats somewhere, which don't exist because she eats every one of them like instantly. But anyway, that's where mine is. But that's good insight, because you don't. I mean, I would not have thought that. I would have figured your highest click-throughs and engagement rate would have been through gifts of gameplay and things like that. But that's true on Twitter. On Twitter, gifts of gameplay and that gives good click-through rates. But Instagram, it's different. Like, that's the thing. For each platform, you need to cater your content to that particular market. Just posting the same content across everywhere and using the same hashtags everywhere isn't effective. You actually need to make sure that you're catering to a very particular demographic and user base that is working within that particular social media outlet. Nice.
Yeah.
So, all right, and now, typical for the show, I forgot what my other question was. So you're building your hub. So what goes into your community hub?
So, lots of people, community members is the first thing that goes in there.
We need people.
You just want bodies. Just give us some bodies.
Yes. So one of the really important things is to kind of start on a really good footing. You want to have a good set of rules. You want to try to mitigate any possibility for future toxicity by setting some ground rules within your community. These can be, there's loads of examples on other Discords all over the place, but the main thing is like no harassment, no don't answer, don't argue with the mods or the dev team or whatever. But yeah, I mean, look at other people's Discords for examples. We're very lucky. We've had zero toxicity with our community.
We can fix that. I'm sorry. Was that out loud?
Well, we also have a zero tolerance policy on toxicity, and we just throw people out if they are.
Then we have the don't be a dick rule.
Yeah, exactly. So what else? You want to obviously make sure you have a set of rooms that are for specific topics, but it's really important to not have too many to start off with. People will generally, having like a server suggestions channel is really good, because then your community can suggest ideas in regards to what new channels you can maybe add or other features you could add. Making use of bots is awesome. Bots are very, very powerful with Discord. We actually developed our own bot that integrates with our back-end systems for our game. So during the pre-alpha, it was actually able to show match results to players within a channel. And we would show the top 10 players every week, as well as who's online and all sorts of other stuff. What else? Having a FAQ is really helpful, like a FAQ channel that players can kind of go into, and you have all your kind of common questions that people have asked. Discord now allows for a variety of other new channels types. One called the news channel, which allows you to actually post news to not just your own Discord, but to the wider Discord community. Though I'm not entirely sure how that works exactly. I'm currently waiting on the Discord community team to explain it to me. And Discord also allows you to have your own store channels now as well, which allows you to sell your game through Discord.
So the news channel is what you and I were talking about earlier. So
yeah.
In theory, whatever you put on the news channel pops up in everyone's activity feed?
It's supposed to, yeah. I mean, you can choose to send it to the activity. So after you put something in the news channel, it asks you whether you want to post it to the activity feed.
I'm checking my activity feed again to see if it's changed. No, my activity feed is showing just games.
Yeah, it might be because we're unreleased, but I'm currently waiting for the I'm in the Discord community leads Discord at the moment, and share tips.
Well, tell them we're in the middle of a very important interview. And we have to have this answer like right now. We need this now. So, and I noticed y'all have like 6 bots in the server. So,
yeah, we're not even using half of them. So
okay, all right. That was my next question. It's like, I mean, are you using them all, or what do they do different? You know, what sort of?
So there are so many different types of bots available for Discord. And a lot of them have loads of extra features that you probably won't ever use. I mean, we use DinoBot at the moment to automatically assign roles to people once they join the server after X amount of time. So we actually block access to the majority of our channels until you have a role on our server, and this is to kind of dissuade people just joining, spamming a link to something, and then leaving, which we obviously stop you from doing. We have a bot that allows us to do giveaways of Steam keys. We have a bot for doing polls. We have a bot called Stomped, which is a feedback system that's actually integrated into the game. That allows us to gather feedback, and then people within a special channel on Discord can then vote on that feedback to see if they agree with it or disagree with it. We have a Trello bot that allows us to show our roadmap, but actually we're not using Trello anymore, so we get rid of that bot. And then we have NeuroBots, which is our own bot. So yeah, lots of bots.
So once you've got everybody in place and you've built this, what have you found that works with the players, that doesn't work with the players? I mean, do you run the risk of, one of those things that we just talked about in terms of, how a game can get out of hand, of promising something and then, creating a bunch of ill will because it doesn't make it to the final cut? What works, what doesn't work, and how do you balance all that stuff?
So once again, going back to the thing, we have said we wanted to do certain things in the game, but we framed it in such a way that it's like, we want to do this, but we can't guarantee it's going to be in the game. And I think if we were to say, okay, this is definitely in the game, and then we don't deliver it, then obviously people are going to be pissed off. But we don't frame it. We never really frame it like that. Like, we always say, hey, like, what do you guys think of this idea? We would love to get it in the game. We're going to try to prototype it, and if it works, we'll keep it. People love that, because it builds conversation about the features that you're trying to develop. I think once again, it's all about framing it around discussion. And we for instance, we share stuff in our dev progress and votes channel, and it's more like, hey, we've just done this thing, so it's a mock-up, what do you guys reckon? And then we look to get feedback on, constantly put feedback that way. If people don't like it, then we ask why, and we try to fix it or change it or whatever, really. But yeah, I think it's once again, it's just all about that constant loop of feedback and discussion and honesty with the community.
All right, and so part of that is getting that brand strategy in place, so because you need to know what kind of customers you want to bring into that communication hub, not just anyone and everyone, because obviously that doesn't work. You outlined a lot of specific things. One of them is the elevator pitch, which we've talked about many times on this show, but you've got a good one, and it should be good because you've been doing this for 3 or 4 years. So I'll read it real quick. It says, Neuroslicers is a highly tactical cyberpunk RTS that turns the genre on its head by focusing on fast, macro, and total information gameplay, short 8 to 12 minute matches, epic global objectives, and a dark cyberpunk narrative campaign that seamlessly blends competitive PvP, co-op, and single player into a truly unified game experience. Okay. In reality, that is a lot of stuff in an elevator pitch, but that's why it's an elevator pitch. You have to be able to sit down as a developer and condense all of your USPs and all of that sort of stuff into something, like this. And so you've got, what is it? it's an RTS. It's a tactical RTS. Why should I get involved? You're going to have a lot of information in there. The matches are short. You've got a narrative campaign, and here's the different types of gameplay that we're going to recommend. I mean, that we're going to have. So that's a really good elevator pitch in and of itself. So the question is, how do you, as a developer, how do you go about figuring out what to plug into those slots? The vision, the mission, and the values, first. I mean, let's start with that part. How do you take this idea, this game that you have in your head, which obviously, you as the developer know, and I'm speaking you as in general, you, not like Justin, this is just for you.
Yeah.
It's like, as a developer, in your head how this is going to play out, how the game's going to work and all this stuff, but it's hard to sometimes laser focus that into something like this. So how should a team approach identifying what their vision and their mission and their values are?
Someone's got these mixed around. So generally, what you want to be doing is obviously discussing this with the team. Actually, let me just refer to my notes, because I actually wrote the notes down. And for me, I swapped traditionally in branding. Two of them are swapped around, and I did something different with this. But yeah, so the main things really is. As a company, and you often develop the values, mission, and what was the other one? Listen, let me just bring up my thing. 2 seconds. Here we go. So, brand strategy, vision, mission. So with the vision, you want to try to determine how exactly you want your game to be perceived by other people. You might be making a platformer, or you might be making a first-person shooter, whatever. But why would people, want to play your game over something like, if you make a first-person shooter, why would they play your game over something like Call of Duty? What really makes your game unique, and what features really make it something amazing? Because I mean, what's the point in making a game if it's going to be the same as something? I think that's a really, it's something that really annoys me actually with the whole indie space. Is a lot of people just end up doing the same mechanics over and over again with a new lick of paint. But next really is obviously your mission. So how are you actually going to reach your vision? What are the strategies that you're going to come up with in order to reach that? I mean, I'll explain what our ones were. So with the vision, we said we want to create a deeply immersive, narrative-rich, and highly tactical experience that is loved and enjoyed by both hardcore strategy fans as well as a wider mainstream. An unparalleled strategic gameplay experience that puts the player at the center of the story and lets them be in control of their own destiny. This all sounds kind of a bit over the top, but this is really what we're dreaming that our game is going to be. But obviously, you need to work out how exactly you're going to get to that. So for us, we wrote, we're going to focus on high-level tactical play, shorter matches, high-intensity battles, and exciting, memorable, edge-of-your-seat moments, and wrap it in a deep narrative-driven campaign that combines solo, co-op, and PvP, which modernizes the genre and brings strategy games into the mainstream while offering lovers of the genre a brand new experience instead of challenges. I mean, very much what this is all about is what are your USPs? What are you doing differently to your competitors out there as a company and as a game developer? Because if you're going to be developing a game that is like someone else's game, what's the point in developing it? Because why are they going to buy it over your game? I think that's.
I'm very familiar with that argument. It's getting the rest of the industry to understand that aspect that.
Yeah, exactly.
Keeps this show going.
And then your set of values really kind of like what are your core pillars as a for a game. And also, you can do the same thing for your own company as well. But yeah, the
I'm on my show. No video games.
the values for us, obviously, like we're focusing on deep tactical play. We're focusing on easy learning curve. We're focusing on exciting and rich narrative, and we want our game to be highly immersive. So for us, these are 4 things that I feel that no other RTS game does, at least to a certain degree. I mean, a lot of them have deep tactical play. Not many of them have easy learning curve. Some of them have exciting and rich narrative. Very few, if any, are highly immersive. So yeah, I don't know. It's I don't know if I even answered your question. To be honest.
Answering the questions is completely irrelevant to this point of the show. But I mean, but you brought up a good point, and it's something that I see more than I feel like I should see with developers not understanding what their USPs are. And it's like, well, players like Fortnite, so they're going to like our game. That's not how it works.
No.
You have to have something different, which, you know, and this is going to dive off into a whole completely different rabbit hole, but the reason Fortnite stays relevant, and there was just an article I saw, you know, maybe 2 days ago talking about how viewership and engagement with Apex Legends has gone downhill since basically they stopped paying people millions of dollars to play it. And Fortnite hasn't. It's because Fortnite turns around, you know, and implements these things. And everybody's like, oh, well, they copied so-and-so. Everybody in this damn industry copied something. There's just the original ideas aren't that common, you know, with what we do. But, you know, because Fortnite can sit and identify things that people really like. People really love the ping system in Apex. They like to be able to respawn their, you know, teammates when they're downed.
Yeah.
Well, what can you do now in Fortnite? You have a ping system and you can respawn your teammates. You have to understand your competitive marketplace to be able to do that. And I think too many times developers are, you know, sit back and go, well, I don't want to play the other games because then someone might accuse me of stealing of it. Well, if you don't play the other games and you don't understand what you're up against from a business point of view, you don't have a compelling product.
Yeah.
You know,
one thing that's really important though is the majority of successful games take a UX first approach to the way they develop their systems. You know, one of the reasons why Apple was always so successful, well, it still is so successful, is because they took a user experience approach to everything that they developed. And Fortnite is incredibly approachable in comparison to the majority of other you know, battle royale games out there, both visually, mechanically. You know, all these different things help with create an experience that is playable for a very, very large demographic of people. And this is completely off topic, obviously. Like it's to do with communities, it's to do with players or marketing, but user experience and taking a user experience approach and user interaction focus to the developing of games actually helps a lot with making more successful products. And it's why it's become so popular, UX within the app development or even hardware development and engineering. And it's quite a new thing within the gaming space. But these companies that are you know, focusing a lot on UX research and UX design are becoming more successful.
And, you know, if you're out there listening and you are a UX expert, Justin's team is hiring a UI UX person right now on on their jobs. Is your jobs page actually live again now?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
We'll post that up there so folks can see it. But all right, so let's once again go a little bit off topic. The reason Fortnite is able to do this stuff and iterate on it so quickly is because, as we now know, and if you've been in this industry for more than 6 months, you should have assumed this in the first place, there are people there working 80, 100-hour weeks. And it's ridiculous. You know, everybody's going to be on the internet and outraged. As I told a buddy of mine at Epic, they're going to be outraged until the next article comes out about the next studio is doing the very same thing. How do you manage, you know, production internally? I mean, from a high level, because I know you're not like the overall production person, but how do you keep your team members from being at work 6,800 hours a week?
It's hard, to be honest, because we don't obviously push for crunch at all. One of the issues that we have is part of our team doesn't come online until 7 p.m. in the evening, and some of us obviously work full time. So what we generally do is we start quite late in terms of work. We start working around 11 in the morning, but then we'll work until about 7. So we're doing 8-hour days. But a lot of the team are so passionate about the game, and so that they end up still, you know, being online and still chatting and still working. And I don't push them to do it. Like I don't even push for them to do 8-hour days if they don't want to. And obviously we have a policy at the studio where you know, flexible working hours. If you need a holiday, people can take a holiday. Like we are very, very flexible in that respect. But we're a very small team, and our core team, they all have equity in the company. So it's really up to them how much they want to work. I personally am a complete and utter workaholic, and I'll work crazy hours, but I'd never ever expect anyone else to do.
And see, that's what, you know, I wrote a big old long Twitter thing yesterday, and a friend of mine's like, "Oh my God, that's awesome! I hope it goes viral." And I'm like, "Well, that would greatly depend on someone actually reading my Twitter page." The problem isn't with the executives at these companies. You know, I mean, that's part of the problem. But the problem goes all the way down, you know, the list, because it's, you know, executives having their head in their sand and going, "We don't have a crunch problem. We don't tell people to crunch," but they kind of do, you know, and it gets down to, you know, the people that are the middle management that's sitting there going, "Well, you don't have to be here and you can leave if you want to, but there's all this stuff that has to be done."
I mean, that is a major issue. It's unattainable milestones and unattainable goals are the cause of crunch. And I mean, that's something that we don't have in place at Dream Harvest. We the game will be done when it's done.
Yeah. I mean, you can have issues with production, you know, being allowed to plan out fixes and updates in an unrealistic manner, PR teams not making promises and assurances without the blessing of the rest of the team. And then everyone else. I mean, it really has got to be a culture thing where if, you know, you need a couple of days off, I don't turn around and look at you going, "Well, I can't believe you're taking 2 days off." I mean, you've got to treat your fellow employees with an ounce of respect and not, you know, chastise them and make them feel guilty because they have things like, oh, I don't know, mental health. You know, there's a whole lot of issues, and people always jump and they say, "Well, you know, it's the executives," and it's like, no, it's not just the executives. It's a problem we have all the way through the system.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree. I think. I mean, we have an advantage being a small studio is we can make sure that from day one, our policies around all of that stuff are for the benefit of everyone who's working on the games that we work on. I hate the word employees because really everyone at the studio is a partner. Everyone is, you know, we're a family rather than there being managers and employees. And I care about every single person on the team and their welfare. And you know, and one of the lovely thing is, definitely within the indie space, I'm seeing more studios have the same kind of mindset as we have in that respect. But yeah, I mean, like, there are times where I have had to say to people, "Hey, why are you working at this time of the night?" But I guess when you're passionate about something, and because the thing is for us, like, this might be our job, but it's also our hobby as well, and it's.
And I made that comment, at the last outrage, fest we had when BioWare got, thrown under the bus and all this stuff came out. We as a industry and the employees in the industry are our own worst enemy, because it is. It's like this. We do this because this is what we love.
Yeah.
And because we love it, we are more apt to go, okay, I'm going to work extra hours because I enjoy doing it, versus, if I'm a teller at the bank, I don't typically want to sit around for an extra 3 hours cashing people's paychecks. But we've got to have a better way of self-regulating throughout the system, and not just turning around and blaming it on, one aspect of the industry. So,
no, definitely. Well, I mean, one other thing. I mean, like, much of the work I end up doing in the evenings, I don't even consider really work. For me, it's fun. I enjoy talking with the I enjoy building a new website for the company. For me, it's not work. It's just something I enjoy
I'm the same way. It's like I have an office that's completely separate from, I work at home, but I'm not working out of like a side bedroom. My office is, you have to literally go outside and then go back inside to get to the house.
Okay.
At the same time, in the evenings, I'm frequently sitting on the couch with my laptop doing something. That's just the way it is. And you have to, and someone just asked in chat, it's like, when you're your own boss, how do you stop working too much? And my response was, it's my own damn fault if I'm working too much. And I have this very nice regulation device called my wife and son, and they will look at me and go, we're going to do something as a family now, or are you going to keep doing whatever it is you're doing? So I know, and then that's part of the challenge of our industry. Nobody gets into this industry because they want to get rich, and if they do, they're a fool. But we do it because we love it. So, all right. So let's talk about back to community and early stage marketing and all this other stuff. Is the three like little pillars of your messaging. Defining what the game is, what you want it to be, and what it is not. Is that something that you see you have to do early on, you do it early on, iterate on it, or is it something that comes into effect just kind of like through the process of the development of the game?
I think it very much comes into play during the development of the game. I mean, we personally only did it recently, because I didn't really know about this stuff until more recently, over the last year or so. I think obviously doing it a bit earlier and then iterating on it throughout the development process is also good. To be honest, with a lot of this stuff, it's a process of iteration. I mean, the elevator pitch, for instance, like the first elevator pitch that you ever do in front of an investor or a publisher is probably going to be awful. But that's part of the learning process. You need to fall down again and again and again.
I mean, unless you hire a consultant to help you. I mean, not that I know of any. But I'm just saying there are people out there that can do this sort of stuff.
No, true. But there is obviously a benefit to doing yourself and learning through those mistakes. And because I never used to be a confident person. For me, I was always very shy around people. I hated being in a room full of lots of people. But it was through this process of pitching again and again and again, and getting feedback actually from these investors and publishers saying, your pitch was bloody awful or whatever. it helps to build up that confidence, and it helps to really refine. What is your game going to be? What do you game? What do you want your game to be? And I think that there's so much value behind that. None of this marketing stuff, none of this branding stuff. There's no easy way to work it out. The main thing is you want to make sure that everyone on the team is on the same page, that you guys all agree, guys and girls agree that these are kind of your core pillars as a company and and as a product. But yeah, the earlier you start doing it, the better it will be by the time you get to the point where you want to spend money on marketing and you want to spend money on working with PR agencies and all this. The better it will be when you start getting interviewed by people. So yeah, I wouldn't say start it super early, but like I think the moment you start wanting to speak to people, you should really be thinking about it. Yeah, that's kind of my opinion.
And we could absolutely keep going for another hour about all the knowledge that you dropped in this article, but I know we've all got stuff to do as well. I'm going to post the article right there. But Justin lays out exactly how, here are the phases of your development, what you should be doing at this phase, what you should be doing at that phase. And it's a wonderful knowledge dump, basically.
What's really important with that is just to make sure, what's right for us might not be right for, your studio. But at least it's a framework to kind of work from. And
obviously you use Discord as that community hub that you talk about is Discord for you all, basically. Yeah. Different studios may have different things, but I mean, let's face it, Discord has really come on, especially in this industry, as the go-to place to do it. And he breaks down your channels that you need to have and rules. I mean, I'm telling you, this is a fantastic article. You've got some tips and tricks that we can go through real quick, but I want to also, once we get through that, I want to go and a little bit beyond. And it's like, what else have you learned a little bit? And so you said, number one, make your news and welcome channels read only so important messages always stay in view. Pin some more. Start pinning interesting conversation topics so you can direct newer members to your community, newer members of your community to them and get their instant input on things. And that's also really good for not having to answer the same question 500 times. Yes. Don't be afraid. So this is interesting. Don't be afraid to join a bazillion other Discord groups. How do you manage that? Because I mean, I'm probably on 15 Discord servers, but 10 of them I never go through. I mean, how do you, as the developer, as the people that are, how do you remotely manage all that?
I I kind of group them together based on type. So I'm a member of like a load of other real-time strategy games as Discord. So I have all of them together. Then I have like a load of kind of esports communities all together. It's tough. I mean, to be honest, I've been asking Discord to add a way to properly categorize servers that you're.
Oh my god, I would love that.
Yeah, they need to have folders or something that you can, put some. But I do the same thing. I've got like role play servers, and I've got streaming ones, and then I have like indie business kind of ones. I group them all together like
that. Yeah, no, exactly the same here. Yeah, and it works.
And here's the one that I love because I had never thought of this. I replaced the hard to remember Discord invite link and set up a CNAME record on your domain that's linked to a never expiring link. Yeah, that's actually amazing because I mean then it's Discord dot ours. Once we get done with the show, ours will be discord.pilogroup.consulting or indie game, whichever one I decide to use, as a way to get, you put it on a card or you can put it, wherever, and you don't have to remember whatever 6 or 8 letter number combination Discord gave you.
Or you could just magically be a Discord partner and have something like
Discord.gg/indie. We're not all Discord partners, indie.
Yeah. So actually, so developers can now get their Discords verified really easily. You just need to pay the $100 fee or whatever dollar fee it is, set up a load of stuff for your games, and then you can actually get verified and get a custom domain that way as well.
Hey, we have a question from Z Ratchet. What was the community management Discord that you mentioned?
It is called the Community Leads Discord. you have to be invited by the head of community management at Discord to it. I shall find out what her name was again. 2 seconds, let me just find out. You have to tweet at her and ask for access. 2 seconds. But yeah, so it's an awesome Discord as well. It's filled with all community managers from like Rebellion, CD Projekt Red, every major AAA you can think of have their people, as well as indies and the Discord team.
It's the champagne room of Discord servers.
Yeah. I'll have to post. I'll post a link in your Discord afterwards to the woman's Discord. The Twitter handle that people can message her if they want to.
Awesome.
Get access.
So, I mean, aside from the 4 that we went through, I mean, are there any other tips and tricks for Discord that you've come across?
So yeah, I mean, obviously share concept art in a dedicated channel that's maybe read only, and then have a channel underneath that for people to discuss things about the stuff that you're sharing. Talk about the problems and challenges you face as developers. I think that's an awesome one. You know, you want to, I wouldn't say educate, but you want the community to realize like that game development is bloody hard and bloody expensive, because I think that helps mitigate toxicity and stops the big issue within this industry of players being slightly entitled.
Slightly?
It's understatement of the year.
Wait, when did they only become slightly entitled?
But I think that comes from a lack of education about really how this job is, and so being honest and talking about that stuff in your Discord is awesome. You want to talk about your team members, get your team members to get involved as well. So yeah, all this community stuff, like especially if you're a small indie, don't do it as a single person. Like get the rest of your team involved. They might give you a bit of pushback to start off with, but I think it's really, really important that the community gets to know the members on your team, not just one person. Especially if you haven't got a community manager. But even if you have a community manager, get the whole team on your Discord and get them all chatting with the community. I think that's a really important thing. You can do feature deep dives. One of the really coolest things, so we do a thing called the Sentry program on our Discord. So we started this just before we did the pre-alpha, I think. Initially with only 4 people or 5 people, and what it is, we put up an application offering a free copy of the game, access to our development builds, and the ability for these people to be invited to shows and events that we go to help us demo the game. They had to do around a 2-hour application. It was these crazy essay questions that made no sense. We weren't really looking for the answers. We were trying to find people that could think quite analytically and give us good arguments, because we were looking for people that could give us really in-depth feedback. And these people playtest with us every Wednesday and every Saturday night, and now it's just every Saturday because we're doing something else, because we're currently developing a lot of stuff. And every Saturday night we live stream with these people as well. But they have access to special private channels. They get access to the latest builds. They've become like a proper extension of our community, of our team, because they really, really help us out, and they're brutally honest with us in terms of like gameplay, in terms of our monetization strategies. We often share things with them before we share it with the rest of the community, to kind of as like our first line.
Secret club.
Pretty much, yeah.
But that's a good way to reward non-toxic good team members or community members is by doing stuff like that. And it's worth noting that before you start bringing community into your game, you need to, as a developer, develop some thick skin, because they are going to be very brutal. And if your response every time someone gives you a bit of criticism is the equivalent of "kiss my ass, I'm the developer," then it's not going to work. You know, you have to learn how to take criticism and not be a jerk about it. And I mean, yeah, you're not going to follow every single thing that they do, but you know, you have to get different viewpoints on a lot of different areas of your game, or you're going to end up developing something that's got such a narrow niche focus that you're going to have like 14 units sold or something like that at the end of the day. So
exactly, it's about compromise, you know, and you know, honest feedback is the best kind of feedback. You know, it really allows you to make a better game. If everyone was just telling you your game is awesome all the time, like, you're not going to get anything out of that. You know,
you don't learn from your successes, and you don't get any better because your mom says your game is good.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, for me, it's I get really annoyed when people say the game's great because I know it's not.
With criticism, there's a technique to it, right? So when I went to Animation Mentor, and part of our curriculum was we had to critique everybody as many other animations as possible. So it's pretty much like, here's what I like about it, and da 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 da. But then you say, well, what do you think if you did this? Or instead, you know, you can't just say this is bad, because that is that's not feedback at all. That's just being an asshole.
Yes, that is true, and I think if when you do bring on like a team of these kind of, like, as I said, we call them our sentries, but yeah, testers. It's about making sure that they have the right tools in place to understand how to give effective and actionable feedback. Because I mean, just saying something's shit it isn't isn't useful. So but one of the great things, the way that we do things is we'll play test for an hour, and then we'll do like an hour of literally sitting in Discord chatting about the issues that kind of come up, and trying to dig a bit deeper into why someone doesn't like something or not.
Okay.
What's happening?
Just laughing.
Are you laughing at chat?
Yep.
Yeah, I do too. That was pretty good.
What's happening in the chat?
We had someone in chat ask if we fund games, and I said no, but we can teach you how to get it. And they said, well, I'm not going to sub then.
Well, you know what? That's a lot better than show Bob's, or I'm not subbing.
Yeah.
You know.
All right. So if you've got questions for Justin, we're gonna wrap it up shortly here. As always, you can find Justin and all of our guests on our Discord server, which until like the next hour or so doesn't have a very cool handle because we're not verified, and I haven't set up a CNAME for the for it yet. But if you're in chat, I just posted it right there in chat for you. So real quickly, our business-to-business event that we did last month was extremely successful, to the point that we're going to start hosting one every 3 months.
Yes.
So our next event is coming up July 15 and 16. And I'll post a link to that. Tickets are, of course, already on sale. We've got a whole new website that should be live in the next 48 hours, hopefully, if I did that right. Where you can see all the stuff about it and actually more about the show. We're going to have a real website for the show now that's got embedded videos and
as
all of
opposed
that
to an
stuff.
Imaginary one, right?
Yeah, as opposed to the one that we literally don't have right now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot going on here. But check out our Discord. If you've got business licensing marketing questions for Justin, Indy, or anybody, there's a lot of really, really smart folks on that server. I'm good. If we don't have any questions from the crew, Justin, do you have any parting thoughts?
No, just thank you everyone for listening, and
good information.
Hopefully some of it's usable. Obviously, read through the article; it has a lot more in there. We obviously didn't have time to cover everything because there's a crazy amount of shit in there. But yeah, thank you so much for having me on, you guys. I really appreciate it.
Hey, we love it. You're welcome. Anytime you want to come back, and actually I'm going to hit you up. We are going to have you back to talk about some of the stuff that we barely briefed on during this show, because there's only so much knowledge we can drop in 1 hour with our tangents that we like to go on as well. But yeah.
Yeah, jump
That's
in
it
the
for me.
Discord, Akina, if you got some questions. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. We'll be back next week because Jay's taking
I'm on
Friday
vacation
off. He's gonna
Friday,
go.
so, yeah.
He's gonna go wear his banana hammock and go hang out at the beach.
Yeah, terrify people. So I know next week we have one guest already signed up. He was at GDC with the Indie Mega booth, and he's going to be talking about his experience, doing a trade show for the first time by himself. And as an indie, when you go to these shows like Justin's talking about going to, obviously GDC's a big one, but when you go to a lot of these smaller shows, how do you get ready, what to expect, all that kind of good stuff.
Lots of blood, sweat, and tears.
Exactly. Expect to be told your game sucks.
Yeah.
Whether it does or not, people will tell you that. All right. We'll see y'all next week.
Bye.
Bye, Rob.